Hi, everybody. This is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. I have with me once again, my good friend Amir Ness. We're going to be talking about what's happening at Elevate Group. We've been doing some analysis of Bitcoin, Electroneum, Ethereum. We're going to be talking about a country that is looking at mining cryptocurrencies and what's happening with coronavirus in our respective countries. And there was something else as well. What was the something else, Amir? The halving. The halving. That's right. How could we forget the halving?
the halving.
The halving. That's right. The halving, or the halvening. Right. We're going to be talking about that right in a moment. Now, please subscribe. Follow me on BitTube.tv. If you're watching this on YouTube, I post my videos on BitTube before I do on YouTube, sometimes a day or so before, sometimes longer, right? So you'll get up to date with me on BitTube.tv. Also, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, and on Telegram, my Telegram channel, CryptoRichOfficial. All the links in the description below.
I want to keep to myself, especially when it comes to my personal data online. I really don't want any hacker snooping on me, so I use NordVPN.
Very good.
Very good. Amir, good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me. Sorry if I'm a little dark here. It's just the lighting is not the best, and you already know that.
Yes. Because what's the temperature getting like in Israel?
No, it's starting to get pretty hot here. We're getting like summer weather, so it's in the mid 80s now, I'd say.
Okay, so mid 80s, 85 degrees, which is 28, 29 degrees C. Yes, well, it's like that for me here, but only in the sun.
But it's like that for you a few days out of the year.
It is.
So enjoy it while you're at it.
That's right, which is why I'm out here. And this, by the way, is a fig tree, because I just absolutely love figs, and I'm really surprised to learn they can grow in a south-facing garden in England. So I love figs. And please send me some figs on the blockchain, Amir, okay? I absolutely adore figs. So, look, we're going to go through the stuff I talked about Elevate Group and the Bitcoin halving and the Bitcoin price and Ethereum and Electroneum and this new country that's looking at mining cryptocurrencies. But first, I just wanted to ask you, like, how's it going with you? What's happening with the lockdown in Israel?
It's going okay. Like when you're at your desk most of the day anyway, it's like, I don't know how much of a difference, the quarantine has made for me. I've been at my desk anyway all day. But in Israel, we also had, complete quarantine. It's gotten a little bit better, but the good thing I can say is and I didn't agree with it when it was first happening, but Israel apparently was locking down really proactively. In other words, before there was a quarantine or anything, in Israel, the government was not allowing flights to come in, and a lot of the Israeli citizens were voicing why they thought that was so wrong, and it was what are you doing, and this and that, and the next thing you know, the whole world's in lockdown. So I kind of tip my hat to them. They did a really good job of being proactive, and so thank God it's okay. And
are they doing a lot of testing?
They are doing a lot of testing, but I still think, just like the rest of the world, it's not enough. I mean, a lot of people it's not mainstream yet. Testing hasn't become mainstream yet,
right? Where
you can just go to a drugstore and get a test and be done with it.
Okay, and what about in the mining farm? Because I know Moscow's been hit really badly from the reports.
I think Moscow's been hit bad, but Siberia hasn't, because how many people are going to Siberia in the wintertime? So
big as well.
Even though it is close to China, you know what I mean? But so I don't think. I mean, the farm is okay. Thank God, everybody at the farm is okay. But I don't think Irkutsk has been hit as hard. And yeah, so that's that.
Okay. I'm going to tell you, in Britain, the quarantine hasn't been particularly rigorous or strictly enforced. And then I've come across stuff that in the US and in the UK, the figures aren't accurate. They're fudged for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
It looks much, much worse. And then me and my wife, we think we've had it. I still got a sore throat. I had a pink eye, and just lots of vitamin C and vitamin D, including sunshine. So, so fingers crossed. Get out of this. Okay. Look, let's talk about Elevate Group, because you are the co-founder of Elevate Group. And what happens with Elevate Group, let me just share my screen, is people buy miners with Elevate Group. Oops, how did that show up? My BitTube channel. Shocking. And for some reason, BitTube is not loading on Brave browser. So that's why I opened it in Firefox. So this is the Bitcoin mining farm, mining as a service. And what happens here is people buy the rigs, and then they you host them, order them and everything. And then pretty much every day, mined Bitcoin gets dropped into your wallet, personal web wallet, and people can withdraw on a daily basis, less the electricity costs and less a 20% management fee, which makes it very, very simple and cost effective. And then you've done something recently. Do you want to let us know that's made it even more profitable?
Yeah, so because the ruble has fallen relative to the dollar, effectively we were able to reduce the power cost, which is now 5 cents per kilowatt hour as opposed to 5.5. So that's really good.
Yes.
And yeah, so that happened a few weeks ago.
Okay, so that's electricity has become even cheaper. And then how's it been for people who've been mining with Elevate Group, with the drop in the price and the difficulty? And
it's been really slow. It's been super, super slow. Mining right now, it is profitable, but we were, 4 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we were at like $300 in profit per miner. Now, so that's gone down to like, I don't know, $60 or $70 per miner now. Because what's happening is that, okay, the price has kind of gone down now, it's kind of gone back up, but mining difficulty is going up consistently because nobody wants to stop mining. And that's just really a vote of confidence for Bitcoin as a long-term play. And for miners, I think what happens is you have to be consistent, and you got to go through these periods, because what happens next is like you'll get a big run up in Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden your ROI on a monthly basis will go from like, $60-$70 back up to like whatever, $300. And next thing you know, your monthly ROI is like 15%. You know what I mean? So you just there's ups and downs in any asset. And this is no different. We're not as volatile as Bitcoin itself, but mining is still a volatile business.
Very good. And we'll talk about what's going to happen, or what you think is going to happen with that. Actually, let's talk about it now. So the halving's happening, I think, on the 11th of May. That's when it's scheduled to, in about 4 days' time, right? And today's the 7th when we're recording this, so on the 11th. How do you think that's likely to affect mining?
Well, in the short term, it's going to be put downward pressure on mining, because obviously your mining reward or your income is reduced, right, by half. In the long term, these are all mechanisms which Satoshi baked into the system that I believe, are going to manifest in much higher prices. Because what does it do? It makes it more difficult and costly to mine one Bitcoin, which is like, it's like saying, what would happen to the price of gold if it cost $1,000 an ounce to mine it, as opposed to the $500 an ounce to mine it now? Right. Like, okay, so it costs $500 an ounce to mine an ounce of gold right now. So what would happen if the price of mining went up to like 1,000, and the input cost for fuel and for employees and the engineers and all of those people, were as such that the cost to mine gold was 1,000 an ounce? And it's like, there wouldn't be a big him-haw about like what would happen to the price of gold. It's like either gold would just like not exist anymore because nobody would mine it, or the price of gold is going to go up at some point. And it's like, so you get asked these questions like, what's the halving going to be? What's the halving going to be? It's like, well, either Bitcoin is going to go away, or the price of Bitcoin is going to compensate for that happening, because we're the miners. We're the people that have the pitchforks and the whatever, and the engineers and all that stuff. And, we're not going to mine at a negative. Nobody is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, you can say things like, okay, the inefficient miners are going to go out of business. That's already happened. Like, that happened. Last year that happened. You know what I mean? So yeah, there might be some farms here and there that are, they, for whatever reason, they're mining in their, I don't know, they've got electricity from their neighbor and they've got, like whatever. Okay, those are gonna, that's like one or two here and there. But by and large, like the miners that couldn't make it are not here. So it's like, it's just going to make miners more efficient. And we've pretty much gotten to that point where it's like, okay, this is where it's going to stay. Because if it goes too much lower than this, even guys like Genesis Mining are not going to be able to mine. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to make sense.
Yeah.
And then the only thing you'll have left is like, Chinese people in villages that are getting whatever 2 cents per kilowatt hour electricity and mining.
Yes. Now, there is something else that could happen that isn't going to happen. And it could happen with gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Like if the cost of mining gets too expensive, people could decide, oh, I'm not going to buy it anymore. And the demand for Bitcoin, gold, and silver disappears. Except it's not going to happen because the governments are printing money like crazy.
It's not only that's kind of, that's indirectly what I meant by saying is Bitcoin is either going to go away. In other words, like they're just, for whatever multiple reasons, there won't be demand for Bitcoin. In other words, the demand of a miner to mine it won't be there, so he's not going to mine it. And then the demand of the buyer to buy it won't be there. So that, all those things. And it's like, come on, look at what's going on. Like Bitcoin went down to 3,500 when this pandemic, kind of hit its peak. It's gone up almost 300%.
Yeah.
It's like, why do you need somebody to tell you what do you think is going to happen with Bitcoin? It's like, hello, look at the markets, look at everything. Like, you can see there's money printing. You can see that, like, the airline stocks are not recuperating. You can see that, this asset is gold even is like, okay, whatever, it gained a little bit, but it's like, and then here you have Bitcoin that's gone up 300%, and you're wondering what's going to happen. It's like, what? Like, would it be obvious if it was at like 50,000 now?
Yep. Well, Amir, there's a couple of things. One which I told you about before the video. Let me look at that. Plus another thing you may not know about, which I think makes it even more bullish for Bitcoin. One of them is that there's a government that's looking at mining cryptocurrency. But actually, before I say that, I just want to remind people that if you're interested, go join the Telegram group, do your own due diligence, go register on the website, because you've got a sale on miners, 57 terahash miners for $1,800. So let's have a look at this article from Zero Hedge, which quotes an article from Cointelegraph, where Ukraine is considering using nuclear plants for cryptocurrency mining. Now, Ukraine, I'll link to this in the description below so people can read it for themselves, but Ukraine is in a really bad state. Yeah.
What is that? Like, that article is not about mining. Like, if when I look at an article like that, I'm not thinking to myself, Ukraine is getting into the mining business. Yes, okay, that's what's happening, okay? And funny enough, that Zero Hedge of all places is covering that because, he's a very, very smart, financial markets kind of guy, right? Well, why would they do that? They would probably, if I was looking at that and I was reading between the lines, I would say, maybe the government of Ukraine is diversifying its currency holdings and wants to hold Bitcoin as well as whatever other currencies it's holding. And then if that's the case, which it's plausible it is because they're mining it. So after all, they're mining it, they want it. So if that's the case, then like, it's not so outlandish to think that in 5 years' time, we might have central banks holding Bitcoin. Like public knowledge, we hold X amount of Bitcoin like they hold gold right now. And then so work backwards from something like that and ask yourself, what's going to happen in the halving? Well, if we have like a potential, central bank asset 5 years down the line, and Bitcoin has more than doubled in the last 3 halvings, right? So we have that historical reference to look at. So what's going to happen with Bitcoin this time around? Well, chances are it's going to do all right.
Yeah. Absolutely. And what the article says is that they haven't committed to it, but the Minister of Energy, they're looking at it. They're doing an investigation because what Ukraine has got is surplus nuclear power.
Yeah.
Because the demand has dropped because the economy's,
Yeah.
the whole global economy has slowed right down and gone down, and everything, production has gone down. So they've got more energy than they need. And what I know about Ukraine is that it's in a really poor financial state, financial state. So this is like they get to print money, decentralized money.
They get to turn their power into money.
Yeah, they're free power. And then what I think, listen to you, Amir, what I think may happen if Ukraine do go ahead with it, then we might have countries like Venezuela and Iran and Iraq that have got loads and loads of energy as well, and that are oil dependent. And with the crash in the price of oil, they may say, okay, well, we're going to start mining Bitcoin. Use our cheap oil for that.
I'm sure that they already are. The Iranian government, I think, I mean, they've got cheap power, and they've already done some things with the mining farms over there. Yeah, like I'm sure they already are.
Right. So then you've got more and more demand, and actually from state actors for a limited resource developing over time, and while the governments are printing money into fiat currencies into oblivion. And then the other thing that you may not know about is, I do a lot of coverage on Skycoin. I interview Synth every couple of months or so. 2 years ago, him and his wife got robbed, and they had 18.88 Bitcoin extorted from them. The kidnapper, everybody thought it was a scam and it was a setup, but actually it got settled in court. The people who were doing it got imprisoned for up to a year, and then they were ordered by the court to return the Bitcoin and the Skycoin that they'd stolen. And when they served their sentences, they said, no, we're not going to return it because Bitcoin isn't property. It's not covered by Chinese law. And then the Chinese court ruled for, I think, a day or so ago.
I thought the Chinese have ruled that it is property.
No, they didn't rule it was property. It hadn't been ruled. Right? The Chinese court ruled that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, digital assets, are property in the same way that laptop, that art, that a house is property, that currency is property.
Yeah.
That meets all those measures, which I think could also be incredibly bullish for Bitcoin globally, because other courts are going to look at that decision and consider the arguments.
Of course.
And even if it isn't globally, in China it's enough. It gets covered as property. So we got the halving, we got a state looking at mining, we've got the decision in China, and we've got technical analysis. Shall we have a look at anything you want to say about the Chinese decision before we move on?
No.
Nope. Okay. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. This is on CoinTrader, and I'm going to do a little bit of my technical analysis. And being a social worker by profession, you should absolutely take everything I say as gospel. I think what we've got here on the daily chart is this is the halving that's due to happen in 4 days' time. This is the daily chart. This is the 140-day MA, which is equivalent to the 20-week MA. So you see Bitcoin's above that. It's also above the 20-day MA. And what we have here is a long-term trend line going back to when Bitcoin was at $14,000. And it does go back to, this trend line pretty much also goes back to when Bitcoin was $20,000 in December 2017. So what we want is for Bitcoin to break out above this trend line and close above it.
Which it probably won't.
What? What were you saying? Why are you saying?
No, because you're at an important technical resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, you already have like the bulls and bears that have been fighting over the last few months, right? Because 10,000 was a marker and it failed before, and then you had the pandemic, and that's still around. Like there's still uncertainty. So there's still uncertainty all over the place. So like fundamental kind of news-wise, it's not necessarily bullish. And then you have the halving, which is going to reduce income for miners, and it's going to, bring uncertainty into the price of Bitcoin. Now, that's the short term. Okay, and that's the key. Let
me stay with the short term, right? So you're saying that it's likely to go back down from this key resistance level.
Yeah, I would see it retest 76 to 7,100,
right?
And then really start to make a strong move up, because by then we will have had the whole halving stuff play itself out. Then BTC starts to kind of come back, and the fundamentals, i.e. the cost to make a Bitcoin, plays a much bigger role in the price of Bitcoin, thereby bringing the price up. Right. That's what my guess is.
Okay, so it could be, so Bitcoin dipped down to possibly 7,600, which looks like where the 140-day MA or the 20-week MA is. Bounce off that. Now, where do you think is going to be in the run-up to the halving? Is all of that going to happen before the halving? What's going to happen straight after the halving?
No, I think it's going to happen after the halving, actually, after the halving.
It'll drop to 7,600 after the halving.
Yeah, and then after a little while of base building, then it'll get.
Yeah, and if I remember what happened last time, the last halving in 2016, it did drop just after the halving. And I think it could be like people are like, okay, they're buying in anticipation of the halving, and they sell straight after to recoup some profits.
Yeah,
Anything else you want to say?
I'm not a trader, so I don't get into that. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah, well, and just for people to know that you were a trader in a previous existence. When I was a social worker, you were a trader doing candlestick analysis and volume-based analysis. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Let's have a look at Electroneum, and then we'll have a look at Ethereum.
Although I have to say, I have to leave in 5 minutes, Rich.
Okay, so very quickly, Electroneum has been on a tear. We got this, it looks like a Bart Simpson pattern, which I just don't know how it works. I drew a resistance zone here, and for some reason the numbers aren't showing, but it has been going up and up and up. Lots of marketing going on. And what we need is for it to stay to close above this resistance level, and for that to become the new support. Yeah. Anything you see or want to say about that?
No, I mean, that's a lot of resistance right there. So it's going to need that fundamental news to come out and make it worthwhile.
Right. And it could be that when Bitcoin goes down, Electroneum goes back down as well. That could happen too. Okay, so Ethereum has been doing very, very well. Oh, I haven't looked at this chart. It's below the 140-day EMA and below the 20 EMA, which could be people moving into Bitcoin in anticipation of the halving. But it has moved off its lows here. This is Ethereum against Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say about Ethereum?
No, I mean, like, it's good. It's like you pointed out, it could be people getting out of Ethereum going into Bitcoin on the short term.
Right.
Like, that's my guess. Like, if people ask me what's going to happen with Bitcoin, it's like I said, I think it's going to dip down a little bit short term, and then it's going to start to move up. And mining, at some point in that move up, is going to go through what we went through about 4 or 5 months, 6 months ago, where like you're going to have massive profit gains, basically.
Yes, I remember.
But you have to be mining during that time. You know, like that's the catch. You have to have already bought your miner and be online, because otherwise, you know, okay, you want to buy a miner now, so you got to wait a month, and then you know you have a month of like you're not mining, so you don't get that benefit. And you don't know what's going to happen when your miner does come online. That's why I tell people mining is not a short-term strategy. It's like a long-term investment that has volatility to it.
Yeah, it's dollar cost averaging as you're making making real money. And the other thing I'd want to say is that the other thing that happens is when the price of Bitcoin goes up, mining rigs get more expensive, and the manufacturers aren't able to keep up with demand as people FOMO in. Okay, Amir, anything else you want to say before we finish up in a moment?
No, I apologize that I have to just jump off, but thanks for having me on.
Hey, listen, thank you, Amir. It's always great to talk to you. And for everybody who's watching, please go check out Elevate Group, go join the Telegram group. They've had new sets of testimonials. You can read through them in Telegram. That's something, Amir, you just ask people anything you want to say, and as a testimonial, and people just wrote their stuff, and it was really great.
Yeah.
So you have very, very happy customers in the way that Elevate Group operate. So that's it. So between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Amir signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Steve and Dave use eTORO to trade cryptocurrencies. Steve has a watch list for promising breakout coins. Dave has a watch list too. So why is Dave just as good a trader as Steve? It's because Dave used eToro's copy trader to automatically replicate Steve's trading activity. Whenever Steve makes a trade, Dave does too. Trade like a Steve with eToro, the world's leading social trading platform.